was born by the river in a little tent. Whoa, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Whoa, yes it will. Change gonna come. Ain't that the truth? Before words like coronavirus and social distancing had a place in our everyday vocabulary, this global pandemic was simply a what if. What if? Two words that when paired together proceed the stuff of dreams, and when those dreams manifest, change gonna come. What if we actually colonized the moon? What if we could connect with millions all over the world simply by using a device small enough to fit in our pockets? What if we lived in a nation where we were not judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character? What if a flu-like virus infected over 180 countries, shutting down global economies, forcing millions to shelter in their homes for weeks and weeks on end? What if? It's often the most awe-inspiring and mystical what-ifs that can truly change the world. In an ever-changing world with its ever-evolving complexity, ambiguity, and uncertainty, what if we had the ability to access an infinite resource to fuel our growth through change? What if we had an innate tap to that same resource that has powered the greatest cultural movements and technological advancements of humankind? Better still, what if we were signaled into the best opportunities to use that power, to harness that power, to accelerate our betterment, our evolution to best? What if? I'm a chemical engineer. Before founding my consulting firm, I spent a little under 15 years working in more traditional roles in corporate America. The predominance of that career was spent leading innovation for a consumer packaged goods giant. A giant whom I'm sure, if I were to begin rattling off from their billion-dollar brand portfolio, every single person watching would recognize at least one they have in their homes right now. It was a company I was so proud to help grow through sharing my talents, gifts, and abilities. Well, one day, having worked for that company for about 12 years, I was approached by my manager and told that there would be an urgent meeting for the leadership team, of which I was part. So, at the designated time, a little less than a dozen of us gathered into the boardroom, and we're all kind of looking at each other, trying to gauge who might already have some info about what was about to be shared. But nothing could have prepared us for the moments that followed. Soon after we'd all grabbed our seats, our manager slowly walked in and took her position at the front of the boardroom, and eventually announced that our business was being acquired. Upon hearing that news that my role and in turn me were being acquired by a different company, the first thing that hit me was grief. It was like somebody had punched me in the gut, expelling all the wind from my lungs. I immediately felt this overwhelming loss of a company and a culture that I had grown to know and love. It was the only company I had known since graduating university, the company where I'd established my closest relationships. I'd envisioned this grand career spanning decades and had even extrapolated out my annual salary and bonus projections for many years to come based on assumed advancements. I immediately grieved the loss of that dream and felt anxious, perceiving what it might mean for my future and my livelihood. Perhaps you've experienced something similar recently. A lost job, reduced hours, unsure of how you provide for yourself or your family. What if the negative emotion that accompanies major change were there to serve, not to be diminished or suppressed, but rather embraced? What if that negative emotional energy like anxiety and grief, bubbled up from within to signal us into our greatest opportunities to grow? Social psychologists have learned that emotional response to a given stimuli is milliseconds faster than cognitive or thinking response, just like that grief that punched me in the gut sitting in that boardroom. This emotion is innate, infinite, and highly efficient, often bypassing the rational brain center, moving swiftly through the amygdala, a more primitive part of the brain. This emotion is a prized inheritance of our species, a gift. a resource flowing in infinite abundance from within. And I believe the reason is to signal us into our greatest moments of opportunity. Opportunity to choose how we will maximize the moment, how we will leverage the power of conscious choice to transform that negative emotional energy into fuel for lasting growth through any change. A signal, an opportunity, a choice. A proven natural law is the first law of thermodynamics, which is founded on the principle of conservation of energy. And it states, energy can either be created or destroyed. It can only be conserved, transferred, or transformed. Now, for those of you looking on at the slide, concerned you might have just stumbled into an advanced engineering course, let me set your mind at ease. I'm not about to try to explain these highly complex viscosity and surface friction curves. I just realized as a degree-carrying engineer, I couldn't live with myself if I didn't share some type of data during this talk. Now, for those of you still looking on with worry, let me further reassure you, this is my only data-rich slide. Now, for those of you far smarter than I, yes, these graphs marginally at best support my point. But anyhow, by this law, energy can either be created or destroyed. And the same must hold true for emotion, which in and of itself is energy. Peter McWilliams said it best, emotion is energy in motion. Energy, as defined in an engineering context, is the capability to do work. And I'm sure you would agree that emotion can certainly fuel action or work. You all are a beautiful audience, and this is by far one of the most exciting moments of my life. But if a bear or a tiger were to come barreling through that door, fear would fuel action. Fear would fuel my legs to move faster than they've ever moved before. Although anyone looking on from a distance might still beg the question, why is she moving so slowly? Doesn't she know there's like a bear chasing her? Nonetheless, fear would fuel action, right? In fact, it can be so effective that there are leaders who lead by fear. If you don't do this, that will happen. You'll lose your job, you won't get that promotion, you won't be able to provide for yourself or your family. And even though leading by inspiring fear can be effective in the short term, it is neither sustainable nor enabling a fulfilled growth. In fact, fear often stalls progress through change, because when we're invited to conserve the energy of fear for days, weeks, months on end, our health can take a toll. You see, by applying this law, this conservation of energy, we can either conserve, transfer, or transform our negative emotional energy. By conserving, we're essentially holding them within, right? Fueling higher and higher stress levels and all the physiological impact that come with it, like lost sleep and declining health. By transferring, we're engaging in venting sessions, right, with anyone and everyone who will listen, temporarily transferring our anger or frustration from ourselves to another individual, but it eventually finds its way right back to us. Like this energetic game of hot potato. Or we can transform. We can choose to transform that negative emotional energy into the energy that can fuel, that can motivate our growth, our journey to our authentic success. That energy is the same energy that has fueled our intentionality towards international peace, and that has enabled and motivated the life-altering innovation that is making the world a better place for many years to come. That power resides within each and every one of us. That power resides within you. The question is, how will you choose to harness it? A signal, an opportunity, a choice. It wasn't on the day of that announcement, but shortly thereafter, I embraced the grief lingering in the pit of my stomach and the anxiety stiffening the muscles in my shoulders and back to be signals blasting from a source of infinite wisdom within. Signals communicating that I was sitting in a moment of opportunity to grow, to evolve, to become better. I began considering, how can I best use this moment and the power of choice? I chose to transform the energy of grief for what I was losing into the energy of pride for what I had accomplished over those past 12 years. I chose to transform the energy of anxiety for losing my job into anticipation for what lie ahead. I chose to trust in the very fact that I was feeling that anxiety and grief to mean there was something great in store for me. It wasn't always easy, and I had more moments than I care to count filled with those signal emotions. But I ended up excelling in that new company, successfully transitioning my organization through the acquisition. I became a better leader. I became a better colleague. I became better. I was inspired to integrate this throughout every facet of my life. I quit drinking. I lost over 50 pounds. I was inspired to cultivate it, to hone it in a way that it can enable others through their growth challenges. While still working full-time, I worked diligently to build a consulting firm with this message at its core, and I'm so grateful to live each and every day on purpose, inspiring thousands through their toughest change challenges. And if not for that fateful day, sitting in that boardroom, when I mentally buckled to my knees, overwhelmed by grief and anxiety, none of that would have come to pass. And I certainly wouldn't be standing in front of all of you on this stage in this very moment. A signal, an opportunity, a choice. What if today you chose to believe the fear, anger, anxiety, frustration that come with major change to be your prized inheritance, gifts? What if today you began allowing those gifts to exist and ultimately signal you into your greatest moments of opportunity to choose to transform that negative energy into energy that can fuel your lasting and fulfilled growth? What if? Well, like the iPhone, this what if has become my reality. And it's my hope that in the face of every tragedy, disappointment, devastation that change may bring, you'll embrace it as your reality. And one day together we'll sing in unison. There are times when I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I know I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Whoa, yes it will. Be well. Thank you.